The Ballad of Tom the Turkey, Part 1 of 2, by Aldred Chase. I sing a ballad of a bird, whose tale is strange and quirky. He taught us things without a word, by being bold and perky, and all the kings and queens have heard of noble Tom the Turkey. He lived inside a wooden pen, against the outer wall of bulwark castle built from stone, which rose above him tall, with turrets high that touched the sky. He hoped they'd never fall. Tom was a stout and sturdy bird, in truth a little plump. A turkey cannot fly, alas, but Tom was keen to jump. He'd launch himself with flapping wings, and land upon his rump. The plumpness of the turkey's tum was easy to explain. Each morning Sal the maid would come, and feed him full of grain. She'd stand and chat and linger some, in sunshine or in rain. Sal loved to tell him epic tales, and those she loved the best had knights who'd ride the countryside upon a noble quest, and dragons vain would end up slain, while damsels watched impressed. Sal had a soft romantic heart, and daydreams filled her head. The cook would scream, "Wake up from your dream, and do some work instead." To Tom Sal poured out all her tales. He heard each word she said. One morning, ringing hammer blows beyond the castle gate woke Tom up from his peaceful sleep, and put him in a state. Had foes attacked the castle walls, and what would be his fate? His great alarm gave way to calm when Sal appeared with grain. Her step was light, her eyes were bright, she hurried to explain. The golden prince, his questing done, has come home once again. To celebrate his safe return from many savage fights, a tournament takes place today, packed full of bold delights. And best of all, the prince will joust with awe-presenting knights. They always joust in great romances, and bards sing of heroic deeds. By brave knights must take their chances, when mounted on their mighty steeds. They charge each other with raised lances, and clash together at great speeds. Carpenters build a lengthy rail, those banging sounds you hear. This way the horses don't collide, it helps the knights to steer. One on each side they boldly ride, while crowds watch on and cheer. Now here's the most romantic part, of which fine words are spoken. The lady who is his sweetheart will give the knight a token. But if he should refuse her gift, the lady's heart is broken. A simple token works the best, a lover's lucky charm, like feathers for his helmet crest, or kerchief round his arm, but not long scarves, for they might catch, and cause the brave knight harm. I always cheer the golden prince, because he looks so fine. Last night I had a lovely dream, I hope it is a sign. He wore a lady's love token, and that token was mine. I dream, but I'm a foolish girl. My love, alas, ill-starred. The prince is ranked too high for me. From meeting him I'm barred. I'll miss the tournament as well, for cook will work me hard. A massive feast is needed since, with hungry knights to feed. And dear Tom, how it makes me wince, but cook says it's agreed. You'll be presented to the prince, he'll think you fine indeed. A bout of sobbing struck poor Sal, as fierce as it was brief. She plucked from underneath her sleeve a linen handkerchief, and mopped at her cascading tears as she expressed her grief. Each day I've talked to you, dear Tom, you've listened to each word. You never interrupt or yawn, or tell me I'm absurd. Time spent with you is precious time, because I feel I'm heard. But cook will shrug and say that's life, so I must dry my eyes. The kitchen boys, full of rude noise, will mock my heartfelt cries. Yet I am sad we'll meet no more. How tragic are goodbyes! Sal finished doling out the grain. Though she was filled with grief, she tried her best to hide her pain, and smiled through gritted teeth. She did not spot that under strain she dropped her handkerchief. Why must we part? It makes Sal cry, Tom thought as he pecked grain. It is because the prince likes me. The answer is quite plain. My noble rank has grown so high, we cannot meet again. How silly all this is, Tom thought, that I should lose a friend, because I am a noble bird, and social rules won't bend. How can I raise the dear maid up, so friendship need not end? She has to catch the prince's eye, and with his passion woken, he'll woo her and she'll swoon and sigh, and offer him a token. He'll wear it and she'll rank so high as can be spoken. For Sal has seen this in her dream, and dreams are always sound. Her token is a handkerchief, she carries it around. But she has dropped this precious cloth, it's lying on the ground. A lesser turkey might have felt that matters ended there, but Tom was made of sterner stuff, and he did not despair. He took the hanky in his beak, and lifted it with care. The precious cloth must be returned to Sal so that she could present it to her love-struck prince, not leave it in the mud. Tom took a vow to do this now, though it might cost him blood. 6 trumpets blew a loud fanfare beyond the castle wall. The tournament was starting there, those trumpets were the call. Now was the time for Tom to dare, and boldly risk his all. He gripped the hanky in his beak, and took a breath most deep, then sprinted hard towards the fence, and took a mighty leap. He scraped his tail, but cleared the rail, and landed in a heap. The lofty building called the keep, it could not be denied, made poor Tom feel alone and small. He summoned up his pride. The keep was where the kitchens were, and he'd find Sal inside. Tom waddled briskly to a door where 2 men barred his way. With widened eyes and great surprise, they wondered what to say. Tom fluffed his splendid feathers up. He did not have all day. "Look, Bert, I think I know this bird," one guard said to his mate. "He's wanted at the royal feast. We should not make him wait. These birds are bred to come to us. Next thing they'll bring a plate." "It's got a napkin in its beak," Bert said, and scratched his chin. "Now, Fred, this plump and juicy bird is one we should let in, and cook might just give us a bite." The guards exchanged a grin. Tom followed Bert inside the keep. Fred stayed to guard the rear. The air grew warmer as they walked, the kitchen drawing near. Bert licked his lips and smiled and said, "My plump young friend, we're here." The kitchen took Tom's breath away. The room was so immense. It smelled of roasting fat and grease. The air was thick and dense. 6 fires burned to roast and bake. The heat was quite intense. Staff clattered pans and stirred great pots, and whipped up sauce in bowls. They chopped up veg and ground up herbs, and kneaded dough for rolls. They filleted fish after fish, and smoked them over coals. They braised and basted hunks of meat, to serve in gravy lakes. They primped up pastry for fruit pies, and baked the sweetest cakes. They made a jelly, castle-shaped, that could withstand earthquakes. The cook, a fat and oily man, dressed in a smock of white, patrolled the kitchen up and down, nothing escaped his sight. Within the kitchen he was king, and none dared test his might. The cook gave Tom a glance, then said, "This fine plump bird looks grand, except of course he is not dead, and cleaned and plucked as planned. But we can soon remove his head, my cleaver is at hand." Tom thought, "I'm really in a jam," and he was much afraid. No sign of Sal to help him out. Where was the kitchen maid? The cook approached and raised his hand that held the sharpened blade. The cleaver swung towards Tom's neck. Had poor Tom breathed his last? But just before it hit, he ducked. The wicked blade flew past. Tom swerved around the cook's fat legs, accelerating fast. Enraged, the cook pursued the bird, and round they tore, while pots went crash and bowls went smash, and sauce dripped on the floor. But Tom could not make his escape. The guard, Bert, blocked the door. The kitchen staff joined in the chase to please the cook's desire. In haste they upset water pails, out went the cooking fire, while Tom kept up a frantic pace, though he began to tire. Cook grabbed the feathers in Tom's tail. Alas, it left Tom scarred. The feathers broke and Cook fell back. He struck a workbench hard. A tray of pies flew through the air and landed on the guard. With one swift glance Tom saw his chance and came up with a scheme. He charged towards the blinded guard, whose eyes were full of cream. Cook lunged to stop the fleeing bird and yelled a warlike scream. Cook skidded on a pastry crust, and like a cannonball, he shot across the room at speed. He'd no control at all. He squelched the jelly castle flat. At least it broke his fall. Tom squirmed between Bert's creamy hands, and bolted from the place. Behind him came the kitchen staff, who'd taken up the chase. "I'm dead," Tom thought. "If I am caught, I must not lose this race." Can Tom return the lost handkerchief to Sal, the kitchen maid, so that she can give it to the golden prince as a love token? Or will he be caught and roasted by the kitchen staff? Find out in part 2.